Hello, in this video I'll show you various ways you can work with tubes and hoses. So let's say I create a sphere right here, and I want to have kind of a tube running through it. So I can just go into the splines line, I can right click here and use phase constraints. And now I can just press S to activate the snaps, and now I can just snap to the surface here to create this hose running through here. I can go into rendering and enable in viewport, increase the thickness, and there we are. What I prefer to do is to actually go into freeform, and I'll just go into edit poly here and use the splines feature right here. So I'll change this from grid to surface, pick the sphere right here, and then I'll click on splines. And now I can click and drag and create a spline right here. And now just right click to exit out of spline mode, and now I can select the newly created spline. I'll just press Alt Q to isolate, and if I go into the first object level vertex, you can see there's a lot of vertices being created right here. So if I enable in viewport, I get this result right here. So what I want to do is to actually simplify this. Of course, I can always simply delete these vertices either by selecting and pressing delete on the keyboard. What I can also do is delete this, go back to this object, under polydraw, I can increase the minimum distance from 10 to, let's say, 50. And now when I use splines, there's a longer distance between when each vertex is created. So if I select the object now, the spline, you can see that it's much simpler now. And now when I enable the viewport, I get a much better result. I can also go into interpolation and decrease the steps here, just to simplify it in general. In order to make the quads more even, I can also decrease the sides to 8 here. That's a very easy way of creating splines right here. Right? I can just isolate this, I can use symmetry right here. And now I can actually create even more splines. So sometimes you'll be modeling something, you want a whole series of it, and this is a quick way to add it. And now I can select this one right here, go back to editable spline and attach. So now they all have the same thickness here. What I can do is simply apply edit poly, go into the element level, select this and just use push to push this inwards. So now it's a lot thinner here. I can also, for example, just select this and detach it. And now I can, let's say, select these vertices, soft selection, activate this and increase the fall off, and I can apply push. Now I get this thicker result in the center here. Or I can make it thinner in the center right here. So you get this kind of exaggerated effect like this. Alright, I'll just delete turbo smooth and push. We can do a number of other tricks as well. For example, I'll just use by angle and just select the bottom here and the top. And the reason I'm using by angle is because here it's an n-gon, so I can just make one selection, delete this. Well, on one end of every spline you'll have a number of edges here, so I need to select all of these to delete, so I'll just use by angle to select all of them at once. And now what I can do, for example, is just to select all these edges, loop, and create a shape right here, which will take every loop and create a separate spline right here. So I'll just turn off enable in viewport and we can see what's happening here. Actually, I can just decrease the thickness here. So we've got this result right here. And now I can apply edit poly, go into polygon level, by angle ignore back facing, and I'll just select all of these n-gons here. What I can also do is simply select all of these polygons and then Control I just to select the tips here. And now I can hold Control and click here to convert to vertex, activate soft selection, increase the fall off, and once again apply push. And now we can make this thinner at the ends here or thicker here. And now I'll select this object and just delete edit poly. So we've got this back. So let's say that I just give this a light material, and I want to split off the center of this to make it a different object, a different material. So first thing I'll do is just apply edit poly, by angle, select, Control I, and delete. Now just apply turbo smooth to give myself more geometry to work with here. Edit poly on top, and I'll just select 3 edges here. Ring, hold Control, click here to get rid of the polygon, and just grow this. So let's say right there. And now I will detach and give this a darker gray material here, color. And now I can just isolate. I can go into border and just make a selection around this to select all the holes here. I can use Rapid Tools, a free collection of 3ds Max scripts, and use Rapid Quad Cap just to quickly close this up with all quads here. Switch back to polygon, by angle, Control I, and just inset here so we get this nice loop going around here for better subdivision. You can also insert loops here as well, or simply use edge creasing. And now we have 2 separate objects right here, and we're going to give them different materials. I'll just make a clone of this and hide this, because in order to use the Rapid Tools Rapid Quad Cap, this needs to be editable poly. And once I do that, I lose the editable spline. So just in case I have a backup here, in case I need to access the splines again. I can select all this and Rapid Quad Cap, and then switch to polygon and just inset right here. And there we go. I'll just apply turbo smooth on both of them. Now we get this nice division right here. What we can actually do is just activate edge constraints, just kind of move this down a little bit. And I can select these edges. Ring, hold Control, click here to go to polygon, and just use local normal here and bevel this out. So I'll get this nice edge right here. You can quickly add details simply by clicking some polygons, turn on ignore back facing, and just beveling inwards here. I'll just use set flow right here just to get this effect here. Let's say, for example, I want to blend these 2 tubes together. I'll just apply new apply modifier, and now just double click here to select this loop and just move this down here so that it matches the right more. There we are. And now I can bevel outwards. And now I can select these polygons, apply new apply modifier, and just delete. I want to make sure to delete the same amount on the right as on the left. So if I activate step mode, select these edges, you can see I've got 7 edges selected. And I want to make sure I have 7 on the right side as well. Here I've actually got 8. So I need to delete something on the left side as well. Let's say these right here. Now I can select these edges and bridge, and on the bottom as well, and bridge, switch to borders of object level, select this hole here, switch back to edge, deselect these edges and bridge right here. switch back to polygon by angle, and then use make planar to flatten this out here. Maybe insert loop through here, Control Alt and click and drag to even this out, and maybe turn off by angle and bevel right here as well. If I want to even out these edges here, I'll just go back to modeling, loops, and loop tools while I'm in the edge logic level. I'll just select these edges, loop, and then center. You may have to do it several times until they even themselves out here. Let's say, for example, I want these center pieces to connect together right here. So I'll just apply Edit Poly, and I will use Swift Loop, and I'll hold down Shift as I insert a loop so we can apply a set flow right away to match the curvature right here. If I don't hold down Shift, I get this result right here. Then set flow matches the curvature. Right, let's say right here, new Edit Poly modifier, and now I can select polygon here, grow, turn on face constraints, inset, then use regularizer to make this spherical. If you get this result right here, just press Ctrl Z and delete this, switch to edges, double click, and then regularize again. Scale inwards and regularizer. There we are. And now I can simply hold down Shift and extrude right here. And there we are. And now I can also insert a loop through here. And now we have these two being connected right here in the center. We can also get a number of interesting effects by selecting some polygons. And select another one and simply bridging. You can get some interesting effects that way as well. Here I will just bridge, then go into border, and just close up this border right here. You do get this end gone, but you can simply fix this by inserting loops through here, and then connecting the vertices. Here I just switch the snaps from face to vertex. Then I can cut right here. And do the same for the other side as well. Well, now it'll be much easier because we've already got a template on the front. So I'm just going to press Alt X and repeat the same cuts here. Alright, there we are. So you can see in the back here, sometimes regularize gives you a bad result like this. What I can simply do is just turn off phase constraints, switch to rotate, switch this to local, and just gonna rotate here and re-regularize until I get this result right here. Turn on phase constraints, move this right here, and then simply bridge. There we are. And now we get this result right here. And sometimes you may want to insert another object that you modeled somewhere inside of here. Let's say, for example, off the side here, I just created some sort of cylindrical object. Now what I will do here is purposely create a vertex here in the center. Normally what I like to do is just to select all these loops, deselect the opposite bridge, so we get these quads right here. But sometimes it's a good idea to have a vertex in the center for easy snapping. So what I would do is simply extrude in the center, hold control for hitting about the vertex, and then weld and have a high weld threshold here to get this vertex in the center. Now just apply symmetry to get the same on the bottom as well, and just collapse this. So here's our basic object. So let's say I want to get this object right here, right in the center here. So I'll just apply new polygon modifier to get things ready. And I'll just delete these polygons right here. I'll just select this border, this hole, and just hold shift extrude in the center here, convert to vertex and weld, and do the same right here. Alright, now I'll just make a copy of this object, and you can use either the clever text script or this tool right here. Select in place to put it right here. So now the orientation matches up. Now I need to match up the vertices. So I'll just turn off turbo smooth for now. And I'll just use local. And I want to snap this vertex to this vertex right here. There we are. And now it's perfectly in the center right here. You can see how well it's aligned. It looks like here it's actually a little bit short. So what we need to do is to actually by angle and just bevel this out here. And now I'll just rotate, convert to vertex, and snap this vertex to the center right here. And just rotate a little bit more here. And there we are. And just remove this edge right here. Alright, in order to get the same object here on the left, I'll just apply symmetry. I'll go into mirror. I'll switch this to local, Alt-A, click right here, X position, Y position, Z position. Also, we need to make sure we have align rotation turned on, X, Y, and Z, and there we go. So thank you for watching, and take care.